brand, if you are founder, CEO, or you're a key member of that organization, your personal brand should actually be your corporate brand value. What about those like, what's your name again? Bilingual.
Yes.
You work with ING. Should your personal brand be exactly like ING?
No.
Why not?
I have my own personal brand.
Because you don't own that organization. It will be not relevant to do that, right? So it's a dream situation if you own your own corporate brand, right? You actually have that same value. That's what Richard Branson did. Align. We'll talk about that afterwards. What about Tony Fernandez, Asian? Do you know the values are his values? He stands for those values. He started those values, right? And the other CEO, they align to those values. So how do we align to those values, Monica? Let's look at your personal brand values now. Are you aware of ING brand values? If you know, it'd be wonderful. Today we do a quick exercise, whether you align or not. Hopefully it's not a case of water and oil mixing together. Hopefully it's water finds its own level. What are your ING brand values?
Maybe not listed.
You should have, maybe tomorrow take a look at that, right? And then list your brand values and you see whether they align or not. What do you mean by alignment?
Mechanical term.
Mechanical, not the tire workshop. Aligning. How do you mean by aligning values? Aligning percent.
Infused into.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
As long as they are not in the
Same direction.
Go with the flow. Not in contradiction, not conflict. I remember I gave you an example just now. A conflict between spiritual and anti-God, anti-theist. That's extreme, alright? Another example of conflict. Security, right? Any government officers here?
No, all private sector.
All private sector. I'm not going to say something derogatory, but generally, do you agree? Of course, there are performers in government service as well. Do you agree because they get pension, they get those perks, right? My mother, 80-something, still getting free treatment for the last 20 years because my father was a government servant, right? One of the key values of government servant, do you agree, is security?
Yes.
Security, right? So if you treasure security, right, and you join a commercial sector, more so if you start to run your own business, what is one of the key elements? The word starts with R.
Risk.
Risk. That's conflict or align?
Align.
How can security and risk
Oh,
be?
no, I mean align with myself. No, sorry, I wasn't talking about security.
Oh, you are for risk or for security?
For risk.
See? So entrepreneurs, one of the key values is
Risk.
Risk. So security and risk, they don't contradiction. So meaning to say, align no need to be exactly the same. You got it? So that's what we mean by align. Yes, Casey?
So corporate values, do these corporate values mean the values of the directors or the CEOs?
All the way.
All the way.
All the way. I'm seriously offering to you now, if you want a free seminar, I do it for you.
Thank you.
Because some of you may not have a big enough organization to justify getting a brand consultant, right? Align all your directors, partners, staff to a common set of values. That could be done through a simple seminar called Brand Culture Implementation. You have to determine the brand culture. Meaning to say, if new recruits come in, should they blend with the culture or should they bring other type of culture inside? Should they blend or should they bring other type of culture?
Both.
Blend. Right? If you mean both, is to evolve the culture, right? But don't change the culture, right? Again, don't come with conflict, right? Come with a new idea. Maybe people don't brainstorm. Always the seniors giving the ideas, and you come along.
Maxis add one more value.
I agree with this discussion that can be brainstormed. You could evolve, but don't change. Right? Because if you allow external people come, they change the culture, then the brand will be confusion, right? So that's what we mean by brand culture implementation. All the bosses, all the heads of department, all the levels from top to bottom must be aligned with the culture. Right?
So the reason I ask this question is, like you say, all should align with the values.
All must align.
All must align.
That's why if I were engaged or given the possibility to do a brand strategy for an organization, never mind the size, from big to SMI, if I don't see the CEO at the second meeting, we will nicely tell them we are not interested. Very simple. If the CEO is not interested in the brand strategy, brand culture, branding can never take off long term.
So in reality, how many of these CEOs are really aligned?
Richard Branson aligned,
No.
Starbucks
I mean,
aligned.
not those giant organizations.
But you see, I would suggest this to you. I said this many times. Some of you I meet, you ask me, who are your clients? I say, all my clients are the big boys. Why? Not because I'm biased, I want to do business with global companies. Because SMI, SME, most of the time don't do branding, brand culture because of two key reasons. Number one, return on investment too slow. Right? Like Mr. President give example, networker, meet today, tomorrow, one business. Branding is a long range, not 3, 5, 50 years, but you have to build the culture, the infrastructure, the values, and people live the values, consistency, the whole corporate brand comes to life. Right? When you have customer service as one of your key values, your outsider stakeholders, where the customer suppliers you see, these people really live the brand of customer service. That needs a bit of time, minimum of 1 year or 2 years. I've done for some smaller SMI, SMEs who are my friends. But they pay me the fee because they believe smaller companies should also have a brand culture. The others, I don't do because you talk to them, you give them the cost, they just don't want to do it. The second reason SMI, SME mostly don't take up branding and brand culture is this. The CEO refuses to be part of the branding. To put it crudely, they don't believe such a thing as branding. And yet, they ask you, can we be as big as Coca-Cola? They want overnight success, right? Coca-Cola, P&G, some of these famous big brands. What are the famous big brands you think about? Example? Apple, what else?
Leaning.
Boeing.
Leaning. China one, leaning now.
Leaning, a sports brand. Okay. Now, why are they, especially the longer brands, Coca-Cola 200 years, why are they still in existence? Because they believe in branding on day one. That's the difference. A brand that cannot last 10, 20, 30 years unless it's through some fantastic corporate takeover where they're going to change the brand name, right? A brand cannot last 10, 20, 30 years with longevity. Never believe in branding. You have to believe in the branding principles. But to give you some consolation, doesn't mean you have to spend 2 million, 5 million on those big branding, right? Just get your set of values correct. What vision, what can you bring about? What change can you bring about to people's life? and the set of values that stand by that, a personality, get your organization aligned to that, you can be a brand that lasts 10, 20, 30 years. How many of your brands have lasted 20 years? Without a change of name? Yeah?
Boy Junior.
No, that's the one there. The founder member.
Monarch.
Monarch, yeah.
It's been 20 years.
Don't brand, okay.
Monarch quite a big brand. Alright? It has grown to be quite reputable. 10 years? Is it? I think at the rate Fion is going probably 30, 50 years. Because I believe you believe in branding, right? Now, let me give you a secret. There are brands that don't engage brand consultant, and yet they can last 30, 50 years. Why is that?
Specialist?
Not luck.
Yeah, right.
Not luck.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to write a book with a long-time friend of mine, who is one of the champions of insurance, Jeffrey Chu. Successful people keep their brand 20, 30 years. They unconsciously practicing good branding. People like us can help them with the terminology. They practice personal branding. They practice branding principles all the years. So that's why I'm going to write a book with this champion insurance, fast track your wealth creation with global personal branding. So he relates his experience, how he publicizes himself, how he uses his brand, how he speaks at all the relevant places, right? How he mentors people, whatever, and I attach the right terms to it. Then it becomes autobiographical for him. So in other words, personal branding or branding principles are practiced by successful brands.